Oh yeah, you're not getting any after this movie. Zero chance.
I think this is a good time for me to tell the story about how I lost the top of my finger. Swear to God, look at that thing. You can't see it. It's flat.
Just seems like poor medicine. That's what I'm saying. He's a bad doctor.
He's a bad doctor.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay! We are back. Welcome. It is Fright Club live at the Gateway Film Center. She is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And we are from madwolf.com. First of all, thank you guys for braving the frozen tundra
That's
out
right.
there.
That's
I mean,
right.
what got this reminds us, we were talking in Happy Hour.
That's right.
It reminds us of the very first Fright Club.
That's right.
So many years ago.
Many years ago.
When
John was there.
John was here, and the two of us and what, two other people maybe?
Because it was it was not here. It was at the Studio 35, and we were a midnight show.
Yeah.
And there was an ice storm that night, so it was basically five of us watching this movie,
Yes.
watching Severance,
But we
and
persevered.
enjoying every minute.
We persevered. Well, welcome. We are going to have some fun. We've got a fun topic, fun in quotes, a fun movie, fun in quotes. But before that, we've been teasing a little bit for the last couple of days because we got some great news. We've been working on this for a while, and we just got the news yesterday or today? Yesterday from the Owens Group that we've got another chance right here at Fright Club for you to see a movie we've been looking forward to, a horror movie that looks really cool, and you're going to get a chance to see it before anybody else.
Yes, and we're very excited about it. You know what? I don't want to talk about it. I just want to show you what it is.
What's going on? We found a part of a man in the woods today.
Part of the man?
Oh, this has got to be an animal, right?
No animal that I've ever seen.
It's a diabolical spirit.
Excuse me, this is a myth.
For you, yeah.
He's here.
Get ready for our Fright Club premiere of Antlers.
Yay! So we're very excited. We want to thank Cicely Enriquez and the Owens Group for hooking us up with the new Scott Cooper horror gem. Well, we hope so. Antlers. We're very excited about it. Scott Cooper, who did
Crazy Heart, he did Hostiles, he did Out of the Furnace, and this one is a small-town Oregon teacher, Carrie Russell, and her brother, Jesse Plemons, the local sheriff, discovering that a young student is harboring a dangerous secret with frightening consequences. So you're going to be able to see it over a week before anybody else.
About a week and a half.
It comes
we
out
get the
on
premiere.
April 17th, and we will be right here with it April 8th at Gateway Film Center for a Fright Club premiere. And same deal, we're going to do a 6:30 happy hour, then a 7:30 podcast, and then on the big screen, Antlers at 8 o'clock. And it will be absolutely free.
That's right. We'll have, past information as we get it for you. So, hooray. So we're very excited about that. Thank you so much, Cicely, for hooking us up with that.
All right, so last time out, we had fun with our annual Skeletons in the Closet podcast, looking into the bad horror movie pass of some Oscar nominees, and now some Oscar winners.
That's right.
So that is always one of my favorite podcasts.
I agree. I love that one, and it's funny because the first thing I think of now when the Oscar nominations come out has nothing to do with Oscars at all. It's entirely about this podcast because I really love to do it, and I think some people enjoyed it. Seth and his entire online posse, they celebrated the masterpiece that is Cutting Class. That went over really, really big. And our friend Phantom Dark Dave, he's the one person who unironically just genuinely loves Tom Hanks.
He Knows You're Alone.
He Knows You're Alone. He loves that movie.
That's right. Katie is the one person in the world who hates GD National
That's
Treasure
right.
Tom Hanks. But you know what? I love that you don't shrink from it. Way to go.
And then Jenny also loves The Devil's Advocate.
Oh, yeah.
So she maybe didn't think it deserved to be on that list because she doesn't think it's a guilty pleasure.
Okay.
Just a good movie.
All right. Well, that's good stuff. Well, and then we also got a little preview of tonight because we posed to Twitter. Tonight's podcast is about bad date horror movies. Not movies about bad dates, but ones you don't want to have a first date to.
In fact, so we ran into a friend of ours last weekend at Burns Pub, and she has a new boyfriend, and she actually had come to the Gateway Film Center for her first time on a date with her new boyfriend sometime in the last week, and she was telling us about it. And she goes, "When is your next thing? Maybe we'll go." And I said, "No, not this month." Nope. This is not a good place to take your new boyfriend.
But anyway, we got some good ideas on Twitter when we posed that question. Some really good ones. Really not really horror movies, but really bad movies for dates. Happiness.
Yeah, that's a bad one. That's a bad one. Blue Velvet. That's a weird one. Yeah.
Heineken. Be sure to drink Heineken.
The Clock. That's just a test of endurance.
The Clock. Yeah. Actually, somebody brought up Force Majeure, and that's so funny because I love that movie.
Yeah.
And we just saw the remake, the American remake
Downhill.
called Downhill, the other night. So that's a good entry. Marley and Me.
Just because he didn't want his date to see him ugly cry during a movie.
Dogtooth. Yeah, that's
In the Company of Men. Yeah, that's another one. We did get some horror ones though.
Yeah, the Wicker Man remake.
Father's Day. Inside. That's uncomfortable, really, anytime you watch it. And I think The Greasy Strangler, I don't know. I think that might be a good choice, really.
That might be fun, but all right. Hard Candy, that'd be a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, Mother, Midsummer. I think that's an excellent date movie, actually. It really is a good litmus test, I think. Human Centipede.
The Human Centipede. Yeah. Can you see if your man takes you to him, what are we going to see? Oh, the Human Centipede.
Yeah.
And you'll be heading for the exits, I'm thinking.
We might skip the last three. Let's just skip the last three.
Oh, yeah, because they're all
on the
such
list.
Good, such good ideas that they made the list. All right, that's cool. Thank you for everybody that chimed in on that on Twitter. That was fun because it's just a fun topic to talk about. And let's do that. Let's start off at number 5. You want to? All right, number 5 in bad horror movies to see on a date. This is from 1999. A widower takes an offer to screen girls at a special audition arranged for him by a friend to find him a new wife. The one he fancies is not who she appears to be after all. Say it with me. Kitty, kitty, kitty. It's Audition. This is a classic.
It is.
And it's been on many a list for a good reason.
Yes.
But this is perfect for this topic because I could see this one. It would spur if you didn't know the date. Okay,
right.
If it's an early on in your dating history, that it would it'd be a good topic of conversation
or a
to
bad
find
one.
out, or a bad one. But you could really, it's sort of a test to find out. All right, where do you fall on this argument about what he was doing?
Right.
Did he deserve it? And that it would spawn quite a conversation.
Well, I can't imagine really anybody coming out of that movie thinking he deserved that.
But if they did, you might run the other way.
But okay. But I mean, his son definitely didn't deserve it. The dog, no, dog didn't do anything. But the dude, I mean, he is an asshole.
Yeah, he is.
And his friend is a bigger asshole. But it's funny because I've been in conversations where he was just this innocent victim, and I thought, the fuck.
No, you'd hardly call him an innocent victim. You might call the guy in the bag.
We don't know. We don't know what he did. He might have deserved it.
Man, I tell you, the first time I saw that movie, when that bag moved, holy moly, that is a really iconic moment in the movie, and it's a classic for a lot of reasons, and no less than Quentin Tarantino. You've heard of him.
I
Called
have.
it a true masterpiece, if there ever was one.
Oh yeah.
And and it's interesting that the original story that it's based on has not just 1 foot, but 2 feet.
Oh.
Removed at the end. And originally in the first script of Miike, it's Takashi Miike film, if we didn't mention that. Did we mention that?
I don't think we did.
Okay.
We were about to.
Yeah, we were. He didn't have any dismemberment at all. Any dismemberment at all. So they ended up splitting the difference and going for one. But I think I'm trying to imagine if it didn't have any in there, and I don't think it would pack quite the wallop.
Oh, well, no.
You need that in there.
Very definitely you do. Absolutely you do. Because there's no going back after you take off a guy's foot. It's just, it's hard to bounce back from that. Takashi Miike, we love him so much. And actually, he's got, 300 movies that could easily have made a bad date list. Ichi the Killer, I don't recommend for a first date. That's a tough one to sit through with a new romance. Gozu. But we went with this one because, there's the dating that is involved that is the heart of this film. And that also because I think, Miike has made so many movies, well over 100, that it's hard to sort of, he doesn't really have like thumbprints that you see all over. You don't like, oh, this is clearly a Takashi Miike movie. But this particular film is really very, very different from most of his movies. His movies can have so many, there's sort of a mishmash of different styles. A lot of them are very kinetic and colorful, and they move really quickly. And this is such a slow burn when it is. so that when things start to happen, when it goes south, it really, I think it's even more of like you just gasp at what's going on.
I agree. And plus that she is so small.
Oh, she is.
She seems so meek. And then when she's so incredibly sadistic, that kind of, it works much the same way as a slow build does.
Yes, and one of the things, I think her performance is just miraculous. It's just brilliant. One of my favorite things about it, of course, she just looks so, like a wounded flower the whole movie until he can't move, and that's the first time she smiles, and she's so happy when she's sawing his foot off. Oh my God, she's just the best.
And that actually brings up another good point about this movie, because the drug that she injects into her victims is totally made up. Oh. It's just a fictional, but I think that draws an interesting line, because you see a lot of movies, a lot of horror movies, but really any movies, sometimes you pick those nits about what's plausible and what is not.
Yeah.
Now, here's a point that is so important to the film, and just the fact that no drug like that exists, I don't think matters at all. It doesn't matter at all in the grand scheme of things.
Right.
You can take a point like that and it's not like it's going full Batman where you just get whatever you need off the bat belt, but the fact you don't stop and go, now wait a minute, there's not a drug like that. You just sail on by and it works fine without any lapse in the believability of it or the horror of it either.
No.
And it is a classic, no doubt about that. It certainly would spur some debate on your date from 1999 Audition, and that is number 5 on our list. And by the way, apologies for all the medicines in my stuffed up head, because I got the full-on sinus attack, so I'll try to keep my nose blowing to a minimum in the during the podcast. And as always, we can fix it in post. So moving up to number 4 from 2002, another classic. Events over the course of one traumatic night in Paris unfold in reverse chronological order as the beautiful Alex is brutally raped and beaten by a stranger in the underpass, Irreversible. This is, of course, the happy-go-lucky Gaspar Noé.
Yeah.
And it's the movie that is told in reverse chronological order. And when you finally do get to the end of the movie, which is the first scene in the order that it would play, you see that Monica Bellucci is reading a book there in the grass in the park. And the book is An Experiment with Time, which basically is what this movie is.
Yeah.
Because it just goes one after the other backwards. And I thought of this movie in a weird way after we saw 1917. Because 1917 was so skillfully made up of just a very few shots, as this one is. I think this one is 10 or 12 just really long takes that really add up to just an incredible experience. And, of course, it has those 2 very memorable, very brutally violent scenes, which is why it would be uncomfortable for a date movie.
Oh, yeah, you're not getting any through this movie. Zero chance. Zero.
They should have put that on the movie poster.
Nope. None. No. And most Gaspar Noé films, really, you should get to know the person you're dating before you launch a Gaspar Noé film.
Yeah.
Love is his most romantic, and that's when you should know the person first. And, Enter the Void. Oh, I just think, yeah, they're not good first dates.
Yeah, he's out to shock you, and certainly does that here. And it's interesting, too, that, the main rape scene, which is so hard to watch, it's about 9 or 10 minutes, just straight, no cuts. And one of the things, the first time I saw it, I really had such respect for the actress, Monica Bellucci.
Oh, she's great.
What she went through. And
Oh,
I think I read that they had to do 6 takes of that.
Ugh, God.
It's just brutal. I mean, it's brutal to watch. I couldn't believe how she had to sit through that. But it is just, it's one that is hard to keep your eyes on the whole time. But at the same way, you're sort of transfixed to it. And also with the beating in the club, in the S&M club, that is so incredibly violent, and they do a really good job of cutting away from the guy's real face to a dummy head. That I just thought it looked like just mashing that head into a pulp, man.
Yeah.
And which is in such contrast to the rest of the movie as it slowly leads in reverse order to such a tranquil final scene.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think maybe because those 2 scenes are so incredibly graphic and shocking, one of the things that I think it's missed in this movie is that the comeuppance is wrong.
Yeah.
I think, I don't want to spoil anything, but pay attention to which is, again, it's hard to pay attention. You have to look away, but you miss an incredibly important point. I think the majority of people that I've talked to about this missed that. The majority of people I've talked to about this
Well, it's easy to miss,
that point.
and that's good, because you really don't want, it's not a point that you would want belabored for you, but it's very important as to whether, because he obviously, her husband wants revenge as to the man, and whether he gets it or not is a very big point. But it's certainly a movie that is shocking for many reasons. But it's one that you're not gonna leave, like you said. You ain't getting any. You're not going to be in a very romantic mood after watching Irreversible in 2002. But as with a few directors we've talked about before, Lars von Trier being one of them, I always want to see whatever Gaspar Noé is doing.
Oh my God, yes.
I always
absolutely.
do. I don't always love it.
No.
And interestingly enough,
and I almost always feel beat up by the time it's over.
I think it seems like that is his goal.
Yeah.
It really is. Like with the last one, Climax.
Oh.
I certainly felt that way. I really enjoyed the movie, but you really did feel like it was an experience.
Bruised. I felt bruised when I was leaving.
I think the worst one for that was Enter the Void. I really thought that I'd been beat because that's like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
But
his movies don't need to be any longer.
Certainly
than
is a provocateur. Irreversible is our number 4. And moving up to number 3 is the sweet romantic love story we're going to see tonight. From 2007, still a teenager to her own body, a high school student discovers she has a physical advantage when she becomes the object of male violence. It's teeth.
Are you sexually active?
No, I just want to be checked out.
Okay, then.
Every 23rd spring.
What's it doing up there?
For 23 days.
I think there might be something weird going on inside.
What have you put in here?
It gets to eat.
There's something inside of me.
How many people have seen it?
Back for more, I see. All right. All right, well, for the people that haven't, we don't want to spoil anything, but we would like to get your reactions after. So after it's over, they're going to turn the sound down. And please, we'd love to have you come down and get your comments as part of the podcast. So with that, we'll just move on.
We will move on.
Just move on and enjoy.
94 minutes later.
I think this is a good time for me to tell the story about how I lost the top of my finger. Swear to God, look at that thing. You can't see it. It's flat. Actually, I dropped a dumbbell on it at the gym. Popped it open like a baked potato. It was awesome. But that's just one of the thoughts this movie filled me with. It's interesting as the humor that's in it, underneath is a lot of very serious issues.
Yeah, there are a couple of things. This is so meticulously put together, this movie. And Mitchell Lichtenstein, if you don't know, is artist Roy Lichtenstein's son. And he's from Ohio as well. So
got the biggest sculpture out at the John Glenn Airport.
Yeah, that's right. My favorite image in this movie is when she is riding her bike to the gynecologist, and she goes past those Calvin Klein the billboard says perfect, and right under it says banana split for 99 cents.
Yes.
There's just so many just little touches like that throughout this whole movie that I think are priceless.
Well, and there's many horror movies that we've talked about that have been rooted in fear of women, fear of women's sexuality, and it's so telling that there's the line in this where the church group says, and then because of Eve and the devil, and boom,
the
there
serpent.
It is. Yeah, there it is right there.
Yeah.
There's the root of so much of it.
Right. Well, and then also I love that they talk that there's so much Medusa in this movie, because the myth of Medusa, even though she's a villain allegedly, it was an adaptation from a rape. She was raped, and then she became something that couldn't be raped anymore. So I thought that was actually pretty brilliant as well. But let's see what you thought. What are your thoughts? Anybody?
Totally unbelievable. Totally. No one would stop and pick her up, even if she is a beautiful blonde, right after she puts out her thumb.
Yeah, it was. That was pretty good timing with the hitchhiker.
Okay, so I've never seen this before, and I was actually really surprised how funny it was. But I was telling them up there, I think the thing that creeped me out the most wasn't the teeth or even the severed limbs. It was like all the dudes in this town. Like, what's going on there? That's what creeped me out the most.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of sexual predators in one very small community, really.
Yeah, I agree. It was interesting to see how she reacts to all these guys just creeping on her and doing something that she clearly doesn't want to do and is really pressured by it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think, as you said earlier, George, it's an interesting, especially for a film made by a man.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of rape revenge is a pretty common theme in horror movies, and one of the things that I think is interesting about this one is that it is played for laughs at the expense of the dudes, but at the same time, I mean, it's really very troubling film. And I think that it's a weird tone that the movie takes that I think on the whole really works for it, but at the same time, it doesn't make the movie any less disturbing.
No, it's so much of it could be seen as even when you're laughing at some of the silliness of it, as an allegory for a lot of things. And it's a little, the production values aren't great all the way through it, but I think it has a lot to say, really.
I also think that Jess Wexler is just amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that this movie could possibly land as well as it did were it not for how just sort of believable her transformation is and what a great job she does of nailing that sort of earnest, innocent at the beginning without making her feel like a cartoon.
It's funny because when they were filming this, the area where they filmed it, the neighborhood, a lot of the neighbors there were protesting because they thought they were making a porno. I can't understand why all these wangs flying around and dogs eating. And that's the dog thing. That's the coup de grace
yes,
at the end, because clearly from pretty much the first scene he's gonna get it.
Oh yeah,
from the first scene when they're kids. He's going to get it. And I couldn't place the first boyfriend.
Yeah.
That actor, he really looked familiar to me. I'm sorry? He's on the TV show The Magicians. Is that on currently? Okay. We don't watch TV, so that's why.
We don't get to watch any TV.
Maybe I saw it in passing. But so obviously he's still out there a working actor, so that's probably why I've seen him.
Even crippled as he is. Good for him.
So now, for those even who haven't seen it, know why it landed on the list of movies you don't want to take your date to, because that would be some interesting post movie. So what do you want to do now? I know what I don't want to do. But all in all, yes, enjoyed it.
Okay.
Good to know.
There are thumbs up anyway. There's not a lot of applause, but
thumbs up anyway. Nice. Number 2 on our list from 2009. This is one we almost mentioned, or we did mention earlier, because it was one that was
bandied about on Twitter.
Exactly. So a grieving couple retreat to their cabin in the woods, hoping to repair their broken hearts and troubled marriage. But nature takes its course and chaos reigns, and things go from bad to worse. Lars von Trier, Antichrist.
He said he wanted to help me! Where are you?
Nature is Satan's church.
The evil you talk about is an obsession.
No!
Did you want to kill me?
Oh, yeah.
Well, if you've seen this one, it will probably come as no surprise that filming started just after von Trier left a mental hospital. And as part of his trilogy of depression, which is this one plus Melancholia and Nymphomaniac 1 and 2. And I'll tell you, right from the opening scene, if nothing else, even if it's a von Trier film you don't care for, man, he can shoot some beautiful, beautiful sequences. That opening sequence of this movie, man, it's just, it looks fantastic.
Well, the whole movie does, but I need to just back up for a second because he said that trilogy of depression, and I thought, which movies are not on that list? Which von Trier? And then it's My Happy Trilogy. Is the house at
Dancer
Jackville.
in the Dark.
Exactly. Oh, my God, Dancer in the Dark.
Oh. Yeah, that's a good point. But this one, obviously, the title alone, and there's so much religious. So much of this movie is a religious allegory.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the forest is Eden.
Yeah.
And then her as the mother figure, and the problems with their relationship. And they always tell you, you see in movies and TV that doctors are never supposed to treat people in their family or people that they know for their patients. And boy, you find that there's a good reason for that here in this movie.
There is. Well, right away, though, although I love this movie. I deeply love this movie, and I think both the performances are just fearless and amazing. But, she just lost her child. Why should we dwell on what else is terrible? Why would you do that? Let's also make a list of other things that frighten you. Like, should we turn my attention away from grief to something happy, or do we also have to go to the scariest place in the world? It just seems like poor medicine, is what I'm saying. He's a bad doctor.
He's a bad doctor. He gets, if there's something coming to him, he gets it.
Oh, he does. He does.
And, of course, this is famous for the scenes of genital problems. Can we put it that way?
Yeah.
So if you're on a date and it comes to that, I think the phrase, you're not getting any might apply here too.
Yes. Yeah, it's a tough watch. Once the tools come out, once the scissors come out, it's a tough watch.
Once the scissors
and
come out.
I think but it's egalitarian in its nobody's going to be comfortable.
And it was originally scheduled, it came out in 2009. It was originally scheduled to come out in 2005, but apparently an executive producer accidentally revealed the planned ending. And so Von Trier had to go back and write a new one.
Oh.
Yeah. But it's...
Why'd he spill the beans? Sorry.
You got to work that in there. And Von Trier has said about this one that he tried his best to make a horror film but did not succeed. In much the same way, he said he tried to make a musical with Dancer in the Dark.
Yes!
And didn't succeed.
That's one of my favorite musicals. I'm not even kidding. That is one of my favorite musicals.
See, that's one of Von Trier's. Dance in the Dark, no.
I do. I love that.
That doesn't do it for me.
I like that one a lot.
But,
and I definitely think this is a horror film. And I remember seeing it at the time because we didn't expect Lars von Trier to make a horror film. And then, the whole first act is very much one of his incredibly depressing, slow, beautiful, poetic movies. And then I'm like, oh, it's a Cabin in the Woods movie. How exciting.
Yeah.
And then,
I think
feel
it's
like,
horror movie as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very much so. And not a good date movie.
No.
And that's why it's on our horror list of bad date movies.
It is.
Number 2
It is.
2009, Antichrist. Boy, as always, with these Fright Club Lives, we're up against the clock, so let's move it on up to number 1 from 2010. An aging porn star agrees to participate in an art film in order to make a clean break from the business. Can you hear the groans? Only to discover that he has been drafted into making a pedophilia and necrophilia-themed snuff film. It's a Serbian film.
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Everybody knows a Serbian film, right?
God doesn't want me to show that trailer.
Well, rest assured, that's not one you're ever going to see at Fright Club because I know Gateway will not show it.
No, they won't show it. No, they won't show it. And that's okay.
I do think it has been shown here in town once in the
last...
last...
the year it came out, the Horror Marathon showed it.
Yes, Shock Around the Clock.
Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
exactly. So it's infamous for good reason. But, the funny thing is, it's at the heart of it, I think there is a worthwhile film with some worthwhile political implications and some political expression. I really do.
It's not a bad movie.
No.
It's not.
It's really hard to watch.
And the title is very intentional. It's basically about how do you go back to a normal life after you've served in a war like the Serbian war. That's what the whole film is about. It's like it's impossible to be shocked by anything, and you're just so deadened by everything. But the rest of us weren't in that war, so damn.
Yeah, the director, who I can't pronounce his name.
No, you can't.
But
I can't either.
He has said that it's about a struggle against all corrupt authority, hypnotizing you to do things you don't want to do. And I think that's a very good point, though, about the title of the film, A Serbian Film.
Yeah.
There's so many atrocities, and if you ever had the stomach to actually read some of the actual atrocities that have occurred in the Serbian Bosnia-Herzegovina war, just horrific. And I do think there's a political expression going on in this movie that you're right. It doesn't make it a bad movie like other movies say. Cannibal Holocaust. Has such an infamous reputation.
But it's
I don't
a bad
care
movie.
for the movie.
No,
exactly.
It's a bad movie. This is not a bad movie. It's just an incredibly hard movie to stomach.
Yeah.
And certainly not one that I would recommend to almost anyone. And definitely, if your date, male or female, takes you to see a Serbian film, leave. Just take off, because the rest of the relationship isn't going to go well.
No, that would be an odd choice.
It would be an odd choice.
Odd choice. So for many reasons, a Serbian film at the top of our list of movies to avoid on dates. That's from 2010. So we got to get out of here. We got to see Teeth. A reminder, the big announcement that we had earlier, we're going to have the premiere of Antlers, brand new horror movie from Scott Cooper, and that is going to be right here at Gateway for Fright Club, the April edition, on April the 8th. Chance to see it before anybody else, so that should be fun.
But before that, March 11th, Eyes Without a Face, we're going to show our classic for this year, Black and White. Cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I'm so excited for that one, and we're going to talk about Bad Doctors.
Bad Doctors.
Yeah.
We talked about one earlier.
We did.
So that's a great segue for Bad Doctors. So, all right, good stuff. As always, we love to keep the conversation going on social medias. You can find us on Twitter. We're at Fright Club Pod. Also on Facebook and Instagram, it's always Mad Wolf Columbus, and the main website where you can find our other podcast, weekly podcast called The Screening Room, about all that, where we cover all the new movies. And by the way, we do recommend Birds of Prey. We had fun with it.
Yeah, go see it.
If
It's
you
not
haven't
making any
seen it.
money. I don't understand it. It was very good. It was super fun.
And we had zero interest in it.
Zero.
And ended up liking it.
Mhm.
So you can find all that fun stuff on the main website at madwolf.com. So this podcast should be live and in color, if that makes any sense, on Monday. And until then, we are going to watch T. Thanks for coming out and braving the elements and my stuffy nose. Until next time, she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Fright Club podcast.